Mrs. Moss here, and today we're going to talk about landscape development. Now, when we think about the landscape, we're referring to the general shape of the region. The shape of the landscape is also known as its topography. We describe landscape regions in the terms of heights and shapes of hills, the stream patterns, and the rock type, or composition and classification. So let's look at the three different landscape regions that we're going to be discussing today: mountains, plateaus, and so the first landscape region that we're going to look at are mountains, and you're very familiar with mountains. We discussed them during our plate tectonic lesson. So you see here in this picture, mountains are made in areas where there's folding and faulting and tilts that was created when the plates were coming together and converging, right? Well, that's going to affect the top surface of our region, and that's the landscape that we're looking at today. Mountains are known for high peaks and steep slopes. They have steep and straight stream gradients, and they have igneous and metamorphic rock. So you would recognize this too, because igneous and metamorphic rock are formed directly from the plates colliding, and so these regions would have that type of rock. So again, as we go through each of these, you want to keep in mind the three qualities that we look for in a landscape region that have to do with the height and steepness of the hills, and the stream gradients, and the type of rock or classification of rock. So for each of these, you should be writing this down. Here's some beautiful pictures of mountains. Most of you have been fortunate enough to visit the mountains, whether you were skiing or on a summer vacation and hiking. But here's some beautiful pictures. This is a cool picture of a mountain region that you can see the folds of the rock layers. This has all been uplifted so we can see it now. It's on the surface. Here's another picture of a mountainous area, and you can see the different tones. This looks like it would be an igneous intrusion that's running through here. Or it could even be the metamorphic rock and the banding. We're not really sure from this. We'd have to get a closer look. But it's a really nice picture. You can really see the shape in the hilly region. Our next landscape feature is plateaus. Now the plateau is created of hills, and it also has horizontal sedimentary layers, which is what these lines on this diagram represent. They're flatter rolling hills, deep cut meandering stream valleys, and horizontal layers of sedimentary rock. Here's some pictures of plateaus from a distance. You can see the rolling hills all along the surface of this, and the deep cut meandering streams that had gone through. You can also see the sedimentary rock layers that have been deposited over time and brought to the surface. Gorgeous pictures. Our next and final landscape region that we're going to discuss is a plain. Now, plains also have landscape features of horizontal sedimentary rocks underneath, but what you'll notice is that these do not have that steep cut in them. Their hills are not as prevalent as with a plateau. There's no real steepness or gradient to it. They're mostly flat, and they have slow meandering stream gradient. So you see in this diagram right here, because it's a flat region, we're going to have the stream meander. There is no slope to cause it to go any faster. So it moves at a slow pace, carving out curves along the way. And there are very thin horizontal sedimentary layers. We would also associate plains with Long Island. And so some of these pictures show the sedimentary rock layers of the coastal region around Long Island. And here's a picture from the reference table, which is on page 2. This shows the landscape region of New York State. And you can see some of what we just mentioned. You can see areas by Lake Ontario that are considered the plains. These are flat areas, and they're bordering a plateau right here, Tug Hill Plateau, which then generally leads into the Adirondack Mountains, which are the steeper areas. Now you see here too, we have the Catskills. Most of you have visited the Catskills at one point or another and been fortunate to do that. But if you notice here, Catskills are actually part of the Allegheny Plateau. Don't know if you've known that or not. So they're actually not really mountains. They're part of a plateau. And if you look here, we consider Long Island a coastal plain. So it is a relatively flat area. The topography depends on several factors. It's going to depend on your climate, moisture, temperature, and latitude, your local bedrock or the compositions of the rock that it's built upon, the geological structures such as mountains, plateaus, valleys, and human activities that have gone on for years in the area, whether it's been through mining or development of roads, cities, and even agriculture. That will all shape the topography of the land, and including pollution. So this ends part 1 of landscape development. We're going to talk more about these features in our next screencast. See you next time.